Welcome from formychildren.com. Remember, my is M-I. And if you want to make a donation, you can go out to Joy to the World Foundation and look for My Children. We're one of many different groups out there, and everything that you give us goes right to the people that we're trying to help over in Pakistan. Take a look and see what we're doing. Become a part of it. Okay, now, the Philippines to battle, and were gathered together at Shuko, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shukoth and Azekah, and Ephes Damim. I might butcher some of these names, and I apologize for that. And Saul and the name of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Eli, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. I'm over in 17:1, 1 Samuel 17:1, by the way. On 3. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and Israel and stood on a mountain on the other side. And there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, whose name was Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass, and he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass upon his shoulders. Now, I'm going to stop here for a second, and I want to explain a little bit about this giant. Okay, and I don't know how tall you are, and you can't really see me in this video, but I'm 5'5". So if I were to stand on top of myself, then I would be 11 foot. Well, this giant is 10 foot. He's 9 foot 9 inches. So you would just take a little bit away from me, but I want you to understand this giant would have to double in size to hold the weight. So not only would he be taller, he would be bigger in stature. He would be scary. And all this that he was carrying was like 156 pounds. Now, that's more than I weigh, even on my heavy days. And so he would weigh and carry 156 pounds. That's a lot of weight to be carrying. Now we got a giant. Well, okay. Well, where in the heck do giants come from? I want to come over here to Genesis, because don't think that they don't just come, that they're just made up. These are not just stories. These are true stories. So this giant in Genesis 6:1, I'm going to read 1 through 4. And it came to pass when men began to multiply, that's normal men, on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the sons saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, very pretty, and they took them for wives of all they chose. So they just took them. They just came and took them, who they wanted. They just took them. Okay. Well, okay, so who did that? The sons of God. Who are these sons of God? Well, we're going to go a little bit into that in a minute. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120. He just knocked us down to 120 years. We were living 999. If you go back and look at some of the ages, they were really, really long. And then there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, they bare children unto them, and they became the mighty men, which were men of old, of renown. So when we're talking in the Bible, we'll talk many times about the ancient men, the men of old, of renown. Well, okay, let's start off. The sons of God. Who were they? We had fallen angels. Remember, a third of the angels left heaven to reside, and they came down to earth where they lived. They lived in the heavens, they lived in the earth. And they're still here today, okay? And they are the ones that are of Satan. And they are the ones that their nature has changed. Well, they are the ones, they could shapeshift. I know, it sounds strange, but you could never take a woman like me, and I couldn't have a relationship with a giant, right? I couldn't. How could I? So they'd have to shape shift and become more my size. And then many of them, they would just take a woman. So however old she was, and many people back then, they got married at different ages, some young, some older, because they lived a long time in the beginning. So these angels would shape shift. They would take a wife and they would bear to them children, and these children would become the giants. Okay, so this is right here in Genesis. All you got to do is read it. It tells us. So we're not walking away from the Bible, right? So now we looked at how big the giant is, which is really big. Now, okay, so now we're going to go back over here. We're going to go back over here to 17, and we're going to talk about the Philistines. Okay, and so we're in 7. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his staff weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. Now, it was 156 pounds. Now look at this. He's got one bearing the shield before him. He's not even carrying his own shield. He's a giant, right? He's a giant. He's scary. Okay, but he's carrying his own shield. Got this guy carrying a shield because he's going before him, and he's going to be working the equipment, the weaver's beam. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel and said unto them, why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine? And are you not servants to Saul? Choose you one man and let him come down to me. Well, okay, so what's going on here? So the battles are one's up in the mountain behind this giant, this scary, vicious giant. And there's Saul's army, about tens of thousands, it says, that are back behind the trees. They're hiding. They're scared. They do come out, but they are scared. Okay, so let's find out a little bit about what fear is. They were feeling distress, great fear, unexpected anxiety. Now, wouldn't you be afraid if you were looking at a giant and that was what your battle was? Let's also look at how Satan looks at us. Satan comes as a roaring lion, coming to see who he can kill, steal, and destroy. Like a roaring lion, lots of noise, but no action. He's just standing there, roaring, no action. Okay, I'm just trying to pull these scriptures together for you a little bit. Okay, now let's go over here to 1 Peter 5 and 8, because this is what we're supposed to do. Let me see here. Hang on just a second. 1 Peter 5 and 8. It says, be sober, be diligent, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking who he may devour. If he can walk around seeking who he can devour, it means he can't devour everyone. He can only devour those who will let him. That's important to know. A roaring lion, a roaring giant, can only devour those who will let him. So the same with our problems, things that are going on with us. We can't be devoured by them if we put a stop to them. Okay, now it says, if we go a little bit further, it says, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the God of all grace, who has called us into eternal glory, Jesus Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will make you perfect, establish you, strengthen you, settle you. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. You're going to suffer a little while. You're going to see this giant. The suffering is in how to figure out how to get around him. Not in battling with him, but figuring out how to get around him. How to get around this thing that's coming at you. Because it's a roaring lion coming at you. Okay, now, I want to go and read just a little bit further. So we can picture this giant. He's at the bottom of the mountain. He's coming out. We can picture both armies, one at the top. They're sitting back having their coffee. They're playing some cards. They're doing whatever they're doing. They're just waiting at the moment. And this giant's scaring everybody with this big roar. We're going to hear what his roar is in a little bit. But right now, the other army is kind of hiding, scary, hiding behind trees and ditches. Okay. So he stood up and cried, this giant, unto the armies of Israel, armies of God, the armies of Israel. He's yelling at him and he's saying, why are you come out to set your battle in array? Why do you come with all your big, beautiful equipment and everything, and all you do is sit there? Am I not just one little Philistine? Am I just one little man? And your servants, are you not servants to Saul the king? Does he belong to your God? Choose you a man, and choose you one man. Let him come down to me. Why do you come out with all your battlefields? Come with one man. Don't you have one that's brave enough to come at me? If he be able to fight me, now he's going to give a promise to them. This is what we're going to do. This will be our covenant with you. He says, if he be able to fight with me and then kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants. Well, this is a promise. He's saying, if I lose, all these other people will be servants. You're going to find out he's not being so honest about that. And so we're going to see. But he's threatening this kingdom. And he's saying, send one man out. Let him come battle me. If you let him battle me, then we're going to have a big battle going on. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. Just one. Just give me one. Just one. And when Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed. They were greatly afraid. Well, okay. They're afraid of this man. Remember what I said is distress, great fear, anxiety. Yeah, because this giant is twice as big as them. And he's twice as wide as them. And he looks huge, right? He's scary. He's scary. Things we don't understand are scary. Now, David was the son of that Ephraite, the Benjaminite of Judah, that was of Jesse. He had 8 sons, and the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. So, his father is an old man, all right? And, okay, let's give a little background now. Samuel was a prophet, and he went out to Jesse's house, and he was looking for someone to anoint to make the king, and the Lord said, make it David. Now, I'm not going into all the story, but make it David. So he anointed him. Now, we got the oldest brother who's going to get jealous of this, so this is a good point to remember. Now, David also ended up working for Saul, so Saul knows him. He doesn't know him intimately, but he knows him. He's playing a harp. He's settling him down when an evil spirit comes. He knows him. Okay, so David's not unfamiliar with all this, but Jesse is the father. He's the one that's been handed down all the promises of God. Okay, so I want to go over something that's kind of interesting. I thought it's kind of fun. Now, Jesse, his name means God exists. Now, he's got sons, and the first one is Eliab. His name means God is my father. And Abinadab means father of a vow, willingness. Now, Shemuel means the Lord is there. Now, those are the eldest sons that have come and gone to war. So, God is my father, father of the vow, willingness. The Lord is there. David is the youngest son, the last of the sons, and his name is beloved. Okay, now we've got King Saul. Now, King Saul was sent. The people asked for a king, and King Saul came, and the Lord said, okay, I'm going to make Saul my king. He's going to be the man I choose. So Samuel, the prophet, anointed him, made him king, and soon he became the king. Well, he's been reigning king ever since, but he's not been following the ways of God. Now, his name means asked for or inquired of the Lord. So this Saul is asked for. Okay. Now, let me put this together for you because I find this fascinating. It says, God who exists sent out those who knew God and was their father. And they went out with a vow and willingness, knowing the Lord their Father was going with them. And they were beloved by him and had sent them. And so he sent them with one by who was asked for. That really tells their story, doesn't it? So these are all going out with Saul to this army, and David's going to go. Now let's get a little bit further in this before we close for today. Everybody was greatly afraid, and David went to his father's. Now, okay, let's talk a little bit about his father. His father was a shepherd, and he had been running all these sheep. Okay, and David, now he had gotten a job. His job was to go over to work with Saul, the king, where he was at. Well, then he would go back to visit his dad, like we get a weekend or a holiday. He would go visit and help his dad. And he knew they were all at war. They'd been there for 40 days. And so he was helping his dad with the sheep and the different things that his dad had going on. So he would go back and forth because he's not living with his father any longer. Okay, but he goes to his dad. And the three eldest of Jesse's sons went and followed Saul to the battle, and the names of his sons that were at battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and the next was Abinadab, and the third was Shammah. Now, we just talked about them and what their names meant. And David was the youngest of the three and followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. Now, this is when he goes to visit. And the Philistines drew near in the morning and presented himself 40 days. So this Philistine's going 40 days yelling this threat out to the king that's just frightening, scaring him, making him well afraid. He's going back and forth. And Jesse says unto David his son, take now thy brethren an ephod, this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren. Hurry, hurry, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captains of the thousands. So there's thousands out there. Okay, this is important to remember. And look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they were all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elad fighting to the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to fight, and shouted for the battle. Okay, now I'm going to leave it here because it's almost time for me to close. But just remember, the trench means that's what they dig so that the army can't go over or fall into or catch them unawares. So the trench is to hide them. Okay, so they're going to be getting ready to go into this battle. But David's just arriving at that time, and he's going to be dropping off his cart. So, all right, well, for this time, may God go with you. May peace be with you. Until next time. And this is such an exciting story. I hope you'll stay with me through it. and glean some new things. I've got some things that I hope will just touch your heart. Be blessed. We love you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.